Hey there, today I've got 5 creative painting ideas with gouache for you. Let's head right in. So the first one is the most elaborate one, I have to say. The other ones that I'm gonna show you are a lot easier than this one. This is more for an intermediate artist, at least if you do it the way that I did it here. You can simplify this concept a lot though. You can see that I did a pretty big sketch, and this is a bigger paper than I usually do, so I have sketched quite a lot of things on here and headed right in with painting. You can see I'm currently painting some carrots and some greenery, and you can already kind of see what I'm creating here. The whole concept is to create something that's underground, like a burrow or something where an animal would live. And I don't know, I always kind of wanted to paint something like this, and there's a certain time of the month where the idea to bury myself in a cozy little burrow like that makes a lot of sense to me and feels very appealing. And I don't know, sometimes I think about I just want to bury myself, have some peace and quiet, read a book. I mean, of course, then I never actually do it. I could also just sit down with a book like in my normal apartment, but I don't really do that. But I don't know, this idea of this cozy place that's kind of hidden is kind of something that intrigues me. And so I really wanted to paint this and wanted to make it a magical world. And I saw these dragons on Pinterest. I didn't completely copy what I saw, but I kind of took the concept and went with it. So we have this dragon here in the sky, but it doesn't live here. The actual habitant of the burrow will be painted later on. You're gonna see who lives in here. And I just at first tried to cover everything with gouache and tried to color everything in, and then I moved on and added a few details. I was kind of finding a balance between not adding too many details but still enough so it looks decent the way that I want it to look. And I really like the style that it ended up being. So you can see that the burrow itself is in this orange-ish, like a kind of a muted orange tone. And that's because we have some light sources in there. We have the fire, we have this lantern, and I kind of also tried to make the mushrooms look a little bit like they're glowing. I don't know how successful I was with that. I feel like the surroundings of the mushrooms would have had to be a little bit darker, and the mushrooms would have had to be a little bit lighter so that it looks more like they're glowing. But I don't know, I like how they look in the end. I did a lot of blending on the mushrooms. I did a lot of blending in certain areas, but not so much in others. I just didn't want to overdo it too much. This was already the most work intense piece for this video, so this took quite a few hours. So if you want to do something like that and create your own underground world with furniture and plants and stuff like that, you can really take your time and really be creative with it and think about what would you want to be down there, what would you want to have down there. Like a little kitchen would also have been cute. I have a few shelves with some bowls and stuff like that, and now looking back at this I'm thinking a little kitchen would have been so cute, or a full-on living room with a couch or something like that. I just painted this pillow in front of the fireplace, and I just tried to not overdo it too much, even though there would have been a lot of things that I could have put in there. And I really kind of like the carrots and the radish that you can see. That's kind of like we kind of sliced through the ground, kind of cut through it and are looking at it like that. And if we're already looking at it like that, we can put the radish and the carrots underground like I did so you can see them. I hope that makes sense. But I kind of like the way that this looks and turned out, because it makes it a little bit more colorful, a little bit more fun, and it feels like something that you might find in a children's book, which is kind of the style that I love. At this point, I don't illustrate any books, but I do like to create something every now and then that could be in a book. And I feel like these illustrations are just so fun, and they're often stylized in a way that's really appealing to me. So I'm fairly happy with how this piece turned out, even though this was definitely the longest of them all. Sometimes I like to throw something a little bit more elaborate into these videos, even though I really like the quick ideas as well, because they kind of keep the creative juices flowing. Sometimes the best thing you can do, though, for your creativity is sit down and really create something with a lot of details and really go all in and enjoy that process, even though it might be a little bit more time consuming. Sometimes it might be a little bit too tedious. It really depends on the mind frame that I'm in. But if you do something like that takes a little bit more time, then you can listen to a podcast or something to pass the time and really just get into it, like really just become one with the painting in a way. It felt like I was kind of down there and creating this little world, and it really was a cool experience to do this. And I went back and forth a little bit here with the mushrooms, with the blending, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to have more of a blended style or more of a line art style. And so it's not 100% cohesive, the piece in that style, because some things are a little bit more on the flat and simple side and some things are a little bit more blended. But I do really like how it looks in the end, like I said. And I think this is a really cool idea that you could customize a lot. You could think of an animal that lives down there. It doesn't have to be an animal that actually lives in a burrow. Or you could also draw some humans, some people that live there. Or mystical creatures that don't even exist in real life. Like, it's limitless. You can come up with so many things, and this feels like something that I would have loved to be able to create as a kid. This feels very much like there's a lot of imagination involved. So you can see right now I'm painting a little mouse friend, a very cartoonish mouse. That's the inhabitant of all of this space. And yeah, like I said, this would have been something that I would have loved to see as a kid or to be able to create. Of course, as a kid, I wouldn't have been able to create exactly that. But I feel like if you would show a younger version of me pieces like that, they would be in awe and be really happy that I'm able to create things like that. And that kind of makes me happy to know. So we are almost done with this piece. You can see now this is the finished result. Like I said, you can go all in here and add a lot of details, or you can simplify this a lot and leave out a lot of these details if you want to. You can see here that I have the book from Minnie Small. She kindly sent me a copy of her book, and I was so excited to look through it. And you can see I already have a bunch of pages bookmarked in this. I've been watching her channel for so many years, so I was really excited when she reached out. And this is one of the pages that we're going to recreate today. She did it in blue watercolor, and I'm going to do it with pink gouache. So it's kind of the same, but also a little bit different. I just did all of the individual sections in different tones. So the whole piece is about being monochromatic. So you don't really have to think too much about the colors and can just go in and add different values of the same colors. And I used pink and purple basically here. I mixed ultramarine and a cool red tone. I think the one from Winsor & Newton is called primary red. and I mixed those, and I feel like at the end I also mixed in a little bit of black just to really get it as dark as possible, because it's really hard to get good contrast with gouache when it comes to things like these, because gouache dries very matte and the darker colors dry lighter and the lighter colors dry darker. So it's really good to keep that in mind and add as much contrast as you possibly can if you want it to stay like that once it dries. My page was a little bit broken. You can see it on the top left. I don't know what happened there, but this weird spot, that's the paper. If you want to improve your gouache painting game, then I have good news. I have a free course for you. I will link the sign up in the description box below. You will learn how to recreate this simple gouache landscape, and I show you a little bit of the tips and tricks and techniques that I use when I paint with gouache. So make sure that you sign up to the free course. Again, I will leave it in the description box below for you to sign up. Now I'm moving on to a different sketchbook. This is the Etchr Perfect Sketchbook, and before I was using the Hahnemühle 100% Cotton Sketchbook. Both of these are great. I feel like the Etchr sketchbook is a little bit too rough for my liking. Like, the texture is really good for watercolors, but for different other media it's a little bit too rough, but it is good paper. I don't dislike it, so I'm using it here, and the idea here is to create your own characters, or you can also recreate the characters that I created here if you don't really feel like having to imagine your own characters. I just painted all kinds of different things. I was on Pinterest and I was kind of looking at ideas, and then I was looking at similar ideas, you know, when you go down the rabbit hole of looking at similar things that it recommends, and there were a bunch of these characters, and I kind of tried to mix them all together a bit so I wouldn't completely copy them. This one is just an axolotl. Then we have on the bottom left, that's my favorite one. I have no idea what that creature is, but I love it. And the fire on the top right looks a little bit like Calcifer from Howl's Moving Castle. It's just a fire with a face. And we have a leaf with a face, and we have a duck head and a cloud with a face and a little cat, I assume, on the top left. I'm not 100% sure what that creature is. And then we have this kind of cat with leaves as their tail, and this gradient color. I don't know, I really tried to just put colors on there and paint and not think about it too much. Just do a bunch of characters, and if you don't like all of them, that's okay too. I don't like all of these characters. I will not tell you which ones I don't like, because people always go mad in the comments when I say that I don't like something, but it's okay to not like everything that you create. Literally every artist has art that they don't like as much, and that's okay too. Doesn't really stop me from creating. You can see now I'm putting some dark circles around some of these, and that kind of fills the page a little bit, helps a little bit with the composition. I think it just makes it look a little bit more fun, and if you want to, you can only put those behind your favorite characters. So this is the finished page. For the next one, I'm going to use my Hemi gouache. So far, I've been using mostly Winsor & Newton gouache in this video. The Hemi gouache, of course, isn't as good of a quality, so sometimes I just use that gouache to play around a little bit more and not think about it too much. And we're going to create something that's a bit more playful now. This is also from Minnie Small's book. This is a moon that is inspired by Vincent van Gogh's style, and if anyone in the comments tries to tell me that it's pronounced Vincent van Gogh, then please do your research. I'm not sure if I 100% pronounce it correctly, but since I'm not from America, I will refuse to say Vincent van Gogh because that was not his name.
Van Gogh, not Van Gogh.
that was a little bit of a tangent, but I have gotten angry comments about that and I felt like I need to address this. You can see I'm just using mostly yellow and light orange, blue tones, and a little bit of white. And I'm just putting all of these dots, lines, I don't know how you would call it. And I'm kind of filling the page over and over. And I was going by the pictures of Minnie's book and kind of trying to do everything in the correct order. I'm not sure if I 100% followed it to a T, but I really had fun with this, filling the page with all of these impressionist marks, and you can see all of the brush strokes, and that's absolutely not something that I usually do. This is not really a part of my usual style, so I really liked to explore this, and I used a Posca pen to kind of get rid of the little splatches on the border. And then on the right, I decided to create my own piece, but similar to the one on the left, or kind of inspired by it. And I decided to paint a shark, a yellow or orange shark, and basically use the same color scheme that I have on the left side. I usually do that with my sketchbooks. I kind of match the pages on the left and on the right so they go together. And you can see that I was using the same technique behind the shark. So I kind of wanted to create this wave and make it look a little bit more dynamic. I didn't want to fill the entire page. I feel like at first I wanted to, but then I saw that it kind of looked cool that way. And so I left it as that. I added a little bit of line art with a colored pencil and added a few details there as well. And I'm really happy with how this turned out, honestly. And that kind of shows us that exploring new things can translate into your own style, and it can extend your repertoire a little bit. For even more gouache painting ideas, watch this video next.